Hello everyone. It's just me tonight, I guess. Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Alonzo Lonnie Spencer, and today we'll be talking about the past weekend's wrestling events and also, just a little bit of Arsenal's transfer rumors, and updates. So far to me, it's been a very, very productive window for Arsenal. They got in so far Kepa from Chelsea, um, Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, and also Christian Newgard from Brentford. Yeah, really excited so far, and we're gonna get Madueke from Chelsea as backup for Bukayo Saka, and also Victor Eucharist is coming from Sporting Lisbon, and Arsenal been needing a striker for a very long time now. Um, so very excited about um his coming to Arsenal. I think that people will argue that if he had a proper striker, we win the league. I think that could be true. Arteta has you know, in the past 3 years, he come in second. Um, You kind of lacked a presence to score goals on a constant level. 2 years ago, we brought in Kai Havertz from Chelsea. Originally, he was supposed to replace uh, Granit Xhaka as the left eight, as Arteta likes to play with two midfielders, two number eights, and number six, um, protecting the back line. Due to injuries, of course, Kai Havertz was moved to the central forward position, and he had a rough start in that position until finally he had scored some goals. I remember he scored his first goal from the spot, which that means he scored from a penalty kick, and from then on he got confidence enough to score more goals. Last year, however, he got hurt and you had another midfielder replace him, Mikel Marino, and he did a valiant job. However, that was not enough. At that time, Liverpool were far ahead of the league, and Arsenal were not able to catch Liverpool, despite them drawing 2-2. But yeah, I'm excited about Eucharist coming to Arsenal. It's not official yet. He's still at the Emirates or London, I guess, to finalize the deal. I know some supporters will say, well, they need to see him and Madueke in the next shirt before it is official. Um, but yeah, very excited about the incomings of Arsenal. Hopefully, whoever we sign or when they sign, that will be able to help out. And it's also important to have them start up in the preseason as well, so they can get acclimated with the current squad, so they don't have any trouble um, in matches that matter, or at least preseason matches. They play over in Asia right now. I believe that they're going to preseason in Singapore. But yeah, we're also in for a center back named Christian. I believe I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but that's correct. Give me 1 second. Anyway, he's a center back from Villarreal from La Liga. Um, let's see. So Christian Masquera. He's going to be apparently worth $13 million, as they said in England. Apparently he's got really good upside. He is very talented and very young. Something that Arsenal has been known to be buying younger center backs. William Saliba being one of them, and it wasn't long ago that Arsenal bought in um, Gabriel Magalhaes because he was at the time very young, very talented, came from France. So maybe Arsenal look at Christian Mosquera as a backup to Saliba. Uh, and this day and age, depth is very important. You saw that last year with Arsenal when they lost Gabriel Magalhaes for the year. They brought in Gabriel Jacob QBR, and he did a fair job. Despite them being in the Champions League, he did pretty good. Though Saliba struggled, because he was not used to having Gabriel Magalhaes is that's his partner as center back pairing, and it has been quite that for a long time now. So hopefully Mascara can partner up with QVR. I thought it's important to bring in these players before a little bit after they go off to Asia, and as well they're waiting for Madueke and also Victor Gutierrez to come in. And also have been linked with Eze as well, the midfielder, winger/winger from Crystal Palace. He's an England international, and he knows some of the guys already from playing with England. Um, I believe that both bringing him as and Madueke in will help. Oh, they don't help like they already know because Saka, Declan Rice, and Miles Lewis Skelly um, did it is from England. So yeah, slowly but surely you're seeing more English players play for England, which is always cool to see. Um, and yeah, I think hopefully we'll get SA in as well over the line sometime soon. That's a player I really like for Crystal Palace. If you know his story, you know that in the past he was unfortunately let go from the Arsenal Academy. So bringing him on back into Arsenal will be a cool story, at least for me. He's a good player for both Crystal Palace and England. So, with that said, I hope that, like I said, I hope they come in really quickly. I hope the business is done. I hope they pass their medicals. I think that they've done so far, despite the main link to Mascara, Madueke, and Bucharest and Issei, they've done pretty well for themselves. I think that they let players go already, like Tierney, like Carte, like Jorginho, um, and they Tomiyasu and Arsenal came to agreement that it was right time to let the player go. Unfortunately, Tomiyasu was never healthy enough to be part of the first team, but he did a good job here at Arsenal. Whenever he was healthy, he was a great defender. I wish him the best. Hopefully, he'll come on with a club that he could somehow um, rebound from his injuries and make himself good again. He'll be missed. A couple of players that could be leaving is Alexander Zinchenko, which, to be fair, he really hadn't come on very good. His first season was okay at best, but him and Gabriel Jesus did, however, bringing back a winning mentality to Arsenal, which they desperately needed. However, his defense fell off big time, massively, and in my opinion, he dropped out defensively, which made Gabriel Magalhaes look very bad. So, that being said, we lost uh, Marquinhos as well. Unfortunately, Marquinhos we never caught on at Arsenal. He was still very young. I think Arsenal probably thought, well, will buy him, and then we'll sell him off once he becomes good. However, that didn't work out, so unfortunately he's going back to Brazil, where his career started. It's kind of unfortunate. I would have thought that he would have made a first team appearance. However, that was not the case. He was loaned out to a couple of teams, one from England, I believe a team in France, and also Brazil. Never really caught on the first team. So I guess the time is now to sell him or let him just cut ties. Another player that they got let go was Tavares. He played for, I believe it was Marseille, and Lazio before. I believe he also played in England. I forgot which team, but he was brought in to be a left wing back, played left back for the injured Tierney. Unfortunately, never caught on either. He played in formation Arsenal. I believe it was. I believe it was either um, Unai Emery that brought him in, or Miguel Arteta. Unai Emery played three at the back, which is three center backs, two wing backs, and two midfielders, and three at the top. Um, Tavares really never fit in. He was lazy defensively, very good going forward, getting some good crosses in. However, he never really got it going with Arsenal. His high brilliance is at other clubs he was loaned to, like Marseille and Lazio. Unfortunately, he never really got called back into the team. So I believe I believe he got sold back to Marseille in France. So hopefully he'll catch on with them. Um, and then also we brought back Sambi Congo. Um, so hopefully he'll somewhat be a squad player for Arsenal. Berta, the guy who's in charge of recruitment and other things, brought him back, and hopefully he'll be on the team in a lesser role, maybe calling maybe League Cup, FA Cup, and some other league games for a backup as far as rotation goes, because also going to need players to come in and step up. We signed multiple players now already to cover for Jorginho and Partey's absence, so we'll see how that turns out with some of the Congo. I hope that he does play more, because I believe there's a player still there. And I'm excited. I'm hoping that he does catch on with the team, because in my opinion, he deserves a chance to make a name for himself, whether it's at Arsenal or elsewhere. Um, Other than that, Arsenal's first game is against Manchester United. Hey Russ, how's it going, man? Cousin Tony, however, could not join. He is probably asleep or too high to join, so maybe he's liberated right now. But how's your day going, Russ? Any questions for me? Russ usually joins us, but unfortunately, with the time difference, he is too tired, I'm assuming, and has to work tomorrow. Yeah, you probably forgot I sent him an invitation to this podcast. Anyway, all is good, pal. Not a worry. Right. So that is our Arsenal talk. Russ, do you think Eze is going to join sooner than later? I hope that it's sometime this week. But however, we might give up a player. Yeah, no problem, man. I understand. Or do you think that we'll give a player from the academy to have SA join Arsenal? I'm hoping it's soon, because I really like the guy. I think that his story, like I said before, him being a former an Arsenal academy kid, one of the Tony Academy kids. I hope he does come on. in Arsenal sometime soon. Apparently, we're going to give up a academy kid who's very uh, high on Arsenal's academy list of players that could uh, give a could potentially give Arsenal a lower cost so that we get SJ in. Anyway, so Russ, what do you feel about these transfers coming in? I know a lot of people say, well, we've already had two players from Portugal come in. Uh, had what's his name, Vieira and Tavares come from Portugal, and them not be successful. I think Icarus is older than them both when they come to Arsenal, so I personally think that he'll surprise some people. I think that he wants to prove it. I think he wants to prove himself that he is legit. Um, I think that his goal record speaks for himself. Granted, it is Portuguese league, so we're taking a big risk with him. But I would prefer him over Cisco. Um, I think Cisco is a good player, but we don't have time to wait for a player of his caliber to come to Arsenal at this period of time. Um, so I'm very excited about that possibility. Another player who I mentioned before, Vieira. I want to say Patrick, but that's not his name. Paulo Vieira. So the issue with Vieira, I think other podcasters have said, or no fans have said that Vieira would never make it at Arsenal because he's very, very not, he's very, he's very light as far as his weight goes. And you've seen flashes from him being able to make good passes, and he has a knack for a free goal here and then. However, he hasn't caught on. Unfortunately, he's a player that Arsenal might look to sell because he never caught on. He was loaned to Porto last last year, but he can never stay healthy. That's the other problem as well. He can never stay healthy, so he can never really get a game in at Arsenal, unfortunately. But when he did come on, he seemed like a decent player. Um, but we had to move on from injury-ridden players like Tomiyasu, like Zinchenko was always hurt. Like Reece Nelson is also a player that I believe Crystal Palace, yeah, it's a quick one. Crystal Palace are also looking, or Arsenal are also looking to offload Reece Nelson, who is on loan from Fulham. From what I've seen, Fulham could resign him, or Reece Nelson could also be gone to uh, Crystal Palace as a swap deal for SA. But again, Reece Nelson has always been hurt in the King Arsenal. So Reece Nelson scored a great goal against Bournemouth whenever last 2 years ago when we were in the league to win the league, or on the verge of winning the league. Unfortunately, we didn't win the league that year, but that year also. So, you could entice Reece Nelson join Crystal Palace as well. Again, a player with a lot of talent, but also a player that was always injured. So, um, we'll see how it works out. But yeah, we still have a lot of players that we've been looking to sell. Oh, jeez. Yeah. So Russ. Oh gosh, I've got to highlight Russ's comment. Evening, Alonzo. Where is cousin Tony? too high to join. I'm sorting stuff out here, or I would love to join, no problem. SA could join, and Russ also says, I think we'll have to sell someone at some point. Right. So Russ, who would you prefer Arsenal to sell? I've named some players already. Some of the Conga apparently is going to stay one more year to prove himself. Berta has already stated that. There's I've, I've read rumors that Trezor might leave, Gabriel Martinelli, looking at Reece Nelson, Pablo Vieira. There's a list of players that could leave. Zinchenko as one of them. We're going to need to have to balance the books somehow. But like our friend Gary had mentioned before, we don't ever value our players enough to sell them at a decent price. Therefore, the team that we sold to always gets a discount. We've always, yeah, like I said before, yeah. Cesar Vieira, Conga, Zinchenko, and Nelson. I agree with that, Russ. I think that they still have value. Um, yeah, Jesus will not be sold next summer. Yeah, like I said, Russ, Zinchenko and Jesus were morale boosters for us. We knew we were getting with those two players. Zinchenko, you can make the argument that he's left eight. He played right back, left back as well. However, as time went on, teams picked up on Zinchenko's weaknesses. He's not really good defensively. You can make the argument also that cost Arsenal some matches, points. Now we have better players like Miles Lewis-Skelly. Calafiori is iffy, give or take. He's still work in progress. And QVR is also very good playing in the left back position, given the fact that he is a natural center back, despite what someone says. um, but yeah, I'm very confident in our WPTs at both right and left back. Timber playing left back to start the season. Ben White got hurt, unfortunately, so Timber played his natural right back position. Um, and then you had the rise of Miles Lewis-Skelly last year, which to me was very good. Had some mistakes, but he had grown from that. Very, very timid player. Played without no fear. Scored against Manchester City. But yeah, I appreciate the banter that he did for us. Russ says Jesus won't be sold until next summer. Jesus to me is a player that wants to be a striker, wants to lead the line. However, with Jesus being so inconsistent, always goes to grounds, one a penalty, one a free kick. It's kind of cut ties. His first season, he scored 5 goals. His second season, I believe, scored 5 goals. And last year, he was hurt most of the year, scored 5 goals, I believe. So, he's always hurt. And you can't depend on him all the time to score goals, make things happen. He's always, like I said, going around for some reason. He doesn't quite understand. He understands, but he's always caught. Um, Makes himself look silly. And doesn't quite. He gets in trouble a lot of times because he's always arguing with the officials. Um, it's frustrating. Let's see here. So I'm gonna Okay, but just use the stats shortly, just so I could get these right. So his time at Arsenal, he scored 26 goals in all competitions. Um, so his time at Arsenal, his first year, he had a good year. He scored 11 goals. In 2023 for 11 goals. 2023-24 he scored 4 goals, which was bad. And last year in competition in the Premier League, he scored only 3 goals. He was hurt, only played 17 games. In the league that year before last, he scored 20. He played 27 goals, had 4 assists, and at Arsenal, the year he joined Arsenal, he's had 26 games, and 11 goals. So Jesus, when he comes back, he's gonna have to prove his worth because being in all these competitions, we're gonna need him to score goals. And if the season started today or in August, and if he's healthy enough, he'd be the third choice striker if he wants to play that position. And he wants to play that position. And in the past, I guess 4 years, 5 years, we've had two strikers, Aubameyang and Lacazette, and we didn't get much out of Lacazette. And Aubameyang was a star striker. And then when Jesus came on the team, his first year, he was the only striker we had. Oh, excuse me. It was him and Nketiah. The year before that, the year after that, we had Kai Havertz and Nketiah. And then the year after that, last year we only had Kai Havertz. And Miguel Arteta made Moreno into a striker because we were so short-handed with strikers that he had to make some strike with Miguel Moreno, which to be fair didn't do a bad job. He scored some good goals, but when ultimately we were a little fast and dash, he didn't quite make it out when we needed it sort of the most. So I'm interested to see what if Miguel Marino stays as a striker or he stays at the left eight position. And so with all that said, I think that there's some really good competition, and we're going to need everyone to step up, whether they be starting or third choice players, because it is a long season, and in the past, Miguel Arteta hasn't really used his backups like he should until needed to have because of injuries. Right. So enough Arsenal talk for tonight, today, wherever you're from, wherever you're listening on replay or on here. So today we're gonna go to wrestling, because here on the Arsenal Strategies podcast, we talk about wrestling as well. Right. So on Saturday, me and Tony did the watch along on NXT's Great American Bash, which the name came from the old WCW um, yearly event in July. Usually, it always takes place in or around um, 4th of July. So I'm gonna go with you guys the results. Because here on the Arsenal Touch Galaxy podcast, it's important you guys to know. Right. So for the NXT Championship match, you had Obafemi versus Ishaki Nakamura. Obafemi won. Obafemi has been coming for a very long time now, and so most are wondering at what point is he going to the main roster. Uh, then we had Jordan Grace. So I forgot most of the women wrestled on Evolution. So that being said, let's go over it again. Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe versus Fatal Influence. Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe won that match. Um, they were both like Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe came from AEW with a lot of potential, a lot of hype. And if you watch wrestling, you guys know that um, she's a baby face at that time. Came out with Jordan Grace to defeat the Fatal Influence. And then you had the next match was Falls Count Anywhere match for NXT North American Championship. You had Ricky Saints and versus Ethan Page. Ethan Page won. I don't watch much. I don't watch much NXT, so bear with me. Um, Unfortunately, whenever NXT is on, I'm at work, so I don't really get a chance to watch NXT that much. But seeing from what I saw on Great American Bash, I'm going to change that because there's so much talent trying to make a name for themselves so they can get on the ring roster. So because a lot of talent has come from NXT, and they've been very impressive matches. I think the production in NXT is done very well. Um, so yeah, um, yeah. Then you had Devon Evans versus Casper Troy. Uh, Devon Evans is a very, very talented high flyer, as they say. I don't know much about um, Casper Troy. So Devon Evans won that match. Um, Next up, we had the NXT Women's North American Championship match versus Soraka versus Izzy Dane. Soraka is a very good wrestler, very, very talented in the ring. Does these cool tricks, wrestling moves. I've seen it a couple of times wrestle. She has very good potential. So Soraka won that match. Um, and then you had, yeah, that was my NXT. Then you had the TNA Championship match contract signing with Trick aka Wolfjack Trick Williams, versus Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. So it looks like they're gonna have a three-way, sort of three-way match, triple threat match, a triple threat match at Summerversary, which is a TNA pay-per-view. I don't watch TNA that much, even at all. But supposedly it's gonna be a good match. Joe Hendry is like a cult, cult hero. Really nice, really cool to fans. Mike Santana, I do not know much about. Um, Chip Williams, um, was, uh, Chip Williams is not Javon Evans. So Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes were I guess friends in NXT. Then Carmelo Hayes moved on to the main roster, went to SmackDown. So yeah, I mean Trick Williams I believe is still a heel or maybe babyface. But like I said, I don't know that much about NXT unfortunately. Um, but yeah, anyways, and also a Saturday night main event was also on Saturday. Um, as a kid, I always looked forward to watching Saturday night main events. It was always a pretty cool deal. You can give you guys results for that. Like, so the first match of the night was Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. Um, these two have a history, and um, Randy Orton is still a babyface, which to me, I prefer him that way. He's one of the elder statesmen of wrestling, SmackDown and both Raw. He's been there for a while now. I believe he's the oldest one next to R-Truth and John Cena. They've been there the longest. So, um, that match was won by Randy Orton. Of course, you watch wrestling, you guys know J-Ro and Logan Paul are now involved in a rivalry. Um, I personally do not listen to J-Ro, but he has made some appearances on pay-per-views, premium live events. So he's documented that he wants to work in the WWE. Um, so he's trying to get fit from what Triple H has mentioned in his post-match um, press conference. He's trying to work hard in the development center in Florida, so he can become successful. Um, so Logan Paul had bits to say to Randy Orton, or I believe it was on SmackDown that J-Ro was speaking, and Logan Paul had some words, and so they were, arguing Randy Orton came out to defend Zero, and Logan Paul and Randy Orton got into a argument, pushing the match, and Logan Paul is a man and Danny wrestler. Russ says Logan Paul is a man. Yeah, so Logan Paul has improved. Russ, um, if you're a fan, he has gotten better. And he has on occasion pissed me off because he's the bad guy and he's the antagonist, and um, the has a scissor match, and um, I believe Randy Orton got punched, and J-Ro came to his rescue, and then I guess on second main event, um, Randy Orton beat Drew McIntyre, and as they're celebrating, um, Logan Paul attacked Randy Orton. Randy Orton was down. Drew McIntyre did hit J-Ro with the Claymore, and it looks like J-Ro got a concussion, but probably didn't. Maybe he did. But I thought it was not funny, but kind of, let's just say I admire J-Ro for losing weight and trying to get into the ring. And from what I remember, Tony, our friend, who's probably too hard to join, had said that it'd be a match between Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton and J-Ro. Like I said before, this is going to take place at SummerSlam. So Triple H mentioned all of that Randy, J-Ro promised him that he'd lose all this weight to try to learn wrestling moves and to try to get himself into shape uh, by 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 being fit so he can wrestle. This will build up into that match in SummerSlam between Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre and J-Ro and Randy Orton. That being said, um, I it's interesting to me how Drew McIntyre, you make an argument that a lot of wrestling fans dislike him because on his shows he'll complain about not getting enough matches or getting screwed over because he's getting looked over for title shots and all that, and he still re-signed with the company. So they're trying to fit him into rivalries, and it's worked. I personally don't like Drew McIntyre. However, his story and the way he came back to WWE is probably job well done by both him, the WWE, and Drew McIntyre. Because the still guy in the wrestler himself is still pretty good. Um, So yeah, I'm really anxious to see how J-Lo performs on SummerSlam. Right. So then you have the next match of the night was Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso, aka Big Jim. Right. So you all know that Solo Sikoa is probably, in my opinion, and probably many others, that Solo is kind of blah. Like when Roman Reigns left for his hiatus after SummerSlam 2024, uh, Solo Sikoa became head of the table with the bloodline, or as the French says, bad line. Um, Solo Sikoa, to me, got a big push, and he has one move called the Samoan Spike, and to me, his character has gotten way too old. Um, the faction itself has gotten so played out that Jacob Hatu got kicked out because he didn't follow his orders. Excuse me, Jacob Hatu, the Samoan Werewolf, won the U.S. belt, um, and at, I believe it was Backlash or Backlash. There were so many pay-per-views that I can't keep up, but uh, Solo Sikoa did get the belt off of um, Jacob Hatu, so that caused rivalry, and on the SmackDown, you would see Jacob Hatu getting jumped by Solo Sikoa, Tola Tonga, um, and his, I guess, brother now, uh, and Tola Toloa is still hurt. Um, so I brought a new guy in, who's very tall. I can't remember his name because, quite frankly, there's so many of them. Let me see if I can find it. So his new name is Tola Tonga. That's Tala Tonga. Tola Tonga. He's very, very tall. He was a former New Japan Wrestling star. Um, so yeah, he is a real life brother of Tama Tonga and Tola Loa, Loa. And JC Mateo is also part of the line, or the new line, whatever we're gonna call it. So, again, Solo Sikoa beat Big Jim, aka Jimmy Uso, um, which to me, it is what it is. Um, the new faction, I believe, is going to get better once Toa Aloha come back. Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope that they do something with them, not just be so stale as a faction. I hope it works. For I guess faction wise, these things can come and go, as you'll see in the second next match that happens. So, let's see here. Also, the match that happened was Gunther versus Goldberg. Um, if anyone knows Goldberg's story, you guys know that he was he has been in the WCW. He had that great streak that he when he first came to WCW. He had this big streak going of undefeated losses, undefeated very long time. I'm not gonna go into detail on how he became that good, but with that came controversy with Bret Hart and caused Bret Hart essentially never to wrestle again. Um, so that made Goldberg into a careless wrestler. With that, all that said, he had a pretty good career. Had a little bit of success in the WWE, considering he was in the prime of his career. Unfortunately, he wrestled Brock Lesnar in one of the most disappointing, hyped matches of all time. Of course, resulting in Stone Cold Steve Austin stunning both of them, which was pretty funny at that time because the match was so underwhelming. Um, again, I'm not going to go into detail about what happened and why it happened, but there's a pretty big fallout. I believe it was Brock Lesnar's last match for a very long time because I believe he was going to train for the UFC at the time. Anyway, with that said, you'll find out why I believe that match was. You could make your own rumors if you watch wrestling on a constant basis on what would have happened had a certain wrestler not gotten hurt. But I'm going to go into that shortly. Um, with 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 that said, of course, um, Gunther being the essentially the World Champion title holder, you're gonna understand that there was speculation that Seth Rollins was going to use the Money in the Bank briefcase to to maybe beat or use that briefcase, Money in the Bank briefcase on Gunther so he could win the belt, but that changed to me. I didn't read the rumor report. I didn't read what would have happened had a certain wrestler get hurt. But we'll go into detail more shortly. So we all know what happens. Goldberg loses what would be his final match ever. Um, the match saw pretty well. Um, of course, Goldberg speared Charles Robinson, aka Little Nate. Um, and, you know, Gunther would would obviously win the match. But, you know, at the end of the match, all of Goldberg's friends and family came into the ring, thanked the fans for supporting him and being there for him, rooting for him, and when it's all said and done, look, Goldberg had a great career. Um, he's undoubtedly a Hall of Fame not be known, but it's known what he did Bret Hart and the WrestleMania match. But he did good things off the ring and in the ring as well. So his hopefully he'll get in the Hall of Fame. Who knows when that'll happen. Um, and so yeah, looking forward to when that time comes in his speech. Um, yeah, not bad for a wrestler who was a football player. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Oh, I apologize. Goldberg is in the Hall of Fame. Again, I'm sorry. Um, Goldberg is in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted in 2018 in WrestleMania 34 in New Orleans. Gosh, I missed that one. But yeah, he had a Hall of Fame caliber career, being productive in both I was gonna say NWO, WCW and WWE. I wish he would have gotten more of a run in WWE, but it didn't happen, unfortunately. Anyway, so next match is, let's see here. So this match I'm going to talk about is LA Knight, yeah, and Seth Rollins. The match started pretty well. And also Seth Rollins is the Money in the Bank winner, so he could cash in anytime he wants to. And most likely he'll be the WWE champion, world heavyweight champion, as they say. So the wrestling was really well. They both did some great work. However, when and then towards the match, um, Seth Rollins went for a swanton. Um, he had landed, and then he proceeded to go to jump the top rope and injured himself really badly, which forced his knee to buckle. I saw it live with Tony and Russ, and it looked awful. I then knew that he was not able to continue based on just just the referee and other medical and officials coming out to check on Seth Rollins. This is quite significant, um, because for many reasons, LA Knight was scheduled to lose that match. I'm assuming through interference. Um, so there's belief, I didn't do this in order, but there's belief that had Seth Rollins won or lost, and I'll come back to that later, he could have been, he could have cashed in the Money in the Bank against um, Gunther, which would have meant that Gunther would have lost, and Seth Rollins would have won the belt. Um, it didn't go that way, unfortunately. So Seth Rollins stood up and early night hit him with the BFT, and Seth Rollins loses, and early night wins the match. Unfortunately, and I say that because anytime you either hate or like a wrestler, you hate to see that happen, especially at an event like that. Um, though he's a heel, and also he has his own faction as well with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Um, so you you ask yourself how that's going to play out with Seth Rollins being out for a significant amount of time. I was just reading it could be anywhere from 5 to 6 months, maybe longer. Who knows? But that said, it can change. It changes the landscape a lot. Um, to the point of you have to change everything. Um, I didn't see Raw last night, unfortunately, so I didn't know what happened. Um, but another event happened on the weekend, and that was Evolution, and that happened on Saturday night, and me and Sunday night, rather, Sunday night. Um, Before I talk about Evolution, I just want to talk a little bit about NASCAR and how, talk about what happened on Sunday. Um, of course, um, Shane Van Gisbergen won his third straight road course race, finishing first. He won the pole on Saturday. My favorite driver, who took over for Martin Truex Jr., finished second. He started the pole second. There's not that much. There's not that much passing at Sonoma because it is not a oval or a super speedway. Um, so Chase Briscoe finishes second, which he's his first time with JGR Drug Goose Racing. So this is his first road course with them, and they did pretty well for themselves. Um, Martin Truex Jr. has won 4 times at Sonoma, so I'm assuming James Law had took notes and told what lines to run at Sonoma, or how to pass, how to do all these things, how to pit. And Chase Briscoe did well for himself, finishing second. Never could get the right restarts when cautions came out. But that being said, Shane Van Gisbergen is the one of the greatest to do it on a road course. There's a lot of people who don't like him because of the fact that he's not as great on target points. I don't know how much he has currently, but he just doesn't finish well on super speedways and ovals and short tracks. So anyway, but yeah, all in all, a good race to me. It was very, very, uh, towards the last two stages, there was a lot of cautions. Um, so the top 10 finishes were Shane Van Gisbergen, Chase Briscoe, Chase Elliott, who started 13th, finished third. Mike McDowell started 15th, finished fourth. Christopher Bell started 10th, finished fifth. Ty Reddick started eighth, finished sixth. Ty Gibbs started sixth, finished seventh. William Byron started third, finished 20th. William Byron finished third, started third, finished eighth. Joey Logano started 22nd, finished ninth. Kyle Busch started 17th, and did 10th. So there's a strategy there with new tires, gas, etc. But all in all, an exciting race if you like cautions and all that. A lot of people passing each other when the restart happened. So yeah, good strategy on all teams that finished top 10. Some stayed out, some got pressure tires. Had the race been longer, Chase Elliott would have won that race because he was on pressure tires. Didn't really the top 8, so he did some good passing. But I don't favor Hendrick's Motorsports. I don't really care for Chase Elliott nor Kyle Larson. Alex Bowman is okay. Can't stand William Byron. Basically because they would know a lot. It is what it is. Right. So then Evolution happened last Sunday night at 6 o'clock. Earlier start training than normal. Let's see. So I'm gonna read you guys the results and all of that. So the first match was a triple threat match. It involved, this is for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. So we had Becky Lynch versus Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria, and Becky Lynch won that match. Seems like she was the opportunist. Becky Lynch obviously was in the ring with Valkyria. Becky Lynch did her finishing move, but then Becky Lynch came out of nowhere and won the match. Pinned Bayley and won the match. Now, I believe last night on Raw, that was Valkyria and Bayley had a match to see who would wrestle Becky Lynch for the belt in SummerSlam, and Becky Lynch beat Valkyria, and Becky Lynch will now wrestle Becky Lynch for the title for the women's Intercontinental belt. And then you had Jessie Jane versus Jordan Grace. Again, this is the NXT Women's title. I don't watch NXT that much. However, I did watch Great American Bash, and it was a good match. However, Jordan Grace was unsuccessful, beating, losing to rather, Jessie Jane rather, sorry. Um, there was interference with Blake Monroe, not getting the belt and hitting Jordan Grace with it. So again, NXT comes on tonight, and so yeah, we'll see what happens with the fallout with that. Right. The next match was Judgment Day, Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, and they're going up against the women's tag team. They're putting up the women's tag team belts against the Kabuki Warriors, Kairi Sane and Asuka, and Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss on SmackDown. Actually, both on SmackDown or Raw. So Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair are from SmackDown. The Kabuki Warriors are from both Raw and SmackDown, I believe. And then from NXT, you had Zarya and Soraka. Um, this match was actually good. Unfortunately, my favorite wrestler, Alexa Bliss, got tossed out the ring by Raquel Rodriguez, and Raquel Rodriguez then pinned uh, Soraka to retain the Women's WWE Championship belts. However, there were some cool moments. Zarya was going to spear Alexa Bliss, and Charlotte Flair rescued her, and I guess covered with her for a little bit because that's what Charlotte Flair does. But that being said, it was a good match, very well put together. Uh, so I mentioned to see again the fallout between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. I believe there'd be a rematch between all four teams because the match was just so good. But yeah, I think Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss make a good tag team. So yeah, I believe that is not the last you'll see of both of them. But yeah, like I said, it was a good match for all four teams. Um, Good to see the Kabuki Warriors come back and wrestle again. I think Kari Zane and both Asuka are good tag team partners, as well as Zarya and Soraka. Again, I don't watch much NXT, but what I have seen is they're both like a good tag team, and Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez as well. So the next match from Evolution is Tiffany Stratton, the current women's title, WWE women's title, versus Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus. And of course, everyone knows Trish Stratus is a legend. She's from Toronto, Canada. Um, she was, I believe, in WWE for a very long time. I think 15 or so years. She came back, had a good reception from the crowd, hugged her kids who were in the audience, and Tiffany Stratton is an up and coming. Got a big push her first full season at SmackDown. Um, Very good match. I don't think Trish Stratus has lost anything. I think she can still compete, and I'm sure that's up to her. I guess it's good to see her wrestle again. I think the fans uh, welcomed her back. I think Tiffany Stratton shows why she's the best right now, or at least one of the best women's wrestlers around. Um, and unfortunately, she won. She retained uh, the she retained um, the belt. Very good match. Looks like Trish Stratus hasn't lost a step at all. She's still fit. They both are, and yeah. Right. So the next match, of course, Tiffany Stratton won, and her rise continues to be the best. Next match is Jade Cargill versus Naomi, and there's a lot of bad blood here. Naomi attacked Jade back last year before she could be in WrestleMania, I believe, or was it Royal Rumble? Um, but there was speculation that it was Liv Morgan who attacked Jade Cargill. Jade got her revenge at the Elimination Chamber, attacking Naomi, which forced Naomi not to wrestle for a short period. They got, I believe Jade did not compete in WrestleMania. Neither did Naomi. Um, I remember. And I think they came back and won. They came back and wrestled. at Night at Champions. Um, Jade Carter won, and then um, at Money in the Bank, Naomi won that contest, that match. We forgot who she pinned. Anyway, she won. Um, and they wrestled Jade Carter and Naomi. Right. So it was a good match. It was no hard to watch match, I believe, and it was a really good match. Of course, we have matches like that. Someone might get bloodied, unfortunately. So yeah, you'll find out why I said that Naomi came back. And this brings me back to the Seth Rollins match with LA Knight. Had LA Knight not been hurt, um, excuse me, not had Seth Rollins not been hurt, winner lost, you can still cash in the Money at Bank. And there's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors that Seth Rollins could cash in the Money at Bank at Saturday Night main event and cash in on Gunther. Unfortunately, that changed events once once Seth Rollins got hurt, um, which that would be a tell of what could have been. Um, so Jay Cargill did win that match, which to me was a very good match. And you'll see that every match at Evolution was as advertised. These ladies performed very well. I don't think that there was a bad match at all. Which is kudos to the training. This is kudos to Triple H for giving these ladies a chance to have them perform on a high level. And I was very impressed about how they had their own storylines. We all know that Roxanne Perez is filling in for Liv Tyler. Liv Tyler got hurt at during her match against Kairi Sane, unfortunately. Um, I guess had a shoulder injury, so that will again for sure to miss some time. Right. So the next match was Royal Rumble. Um, it involved a lot of the women's wrestlers from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Um, it was a very good match. It was, like I said, it was as good as advertised. You had former champions from NXT in there. You had former champions on Raw and SmackDown in this competition. Um, yeah, so um, very stats battle royal. Um, Also leading to Stephanie McCure winning the Royal Rumble or the Battle Royal. I get too confused. Um, you saw some women stay there for a long time. I honestly thought Last Legend would not win, but make a case for herself to win. Um, I'm gonna read out some names. Nikki Bella first started off in Chester Green, Piper Niven, Alba Fire, Natalia, Maxine Dupree, Jada Parker, Last Legend, Lola Vice, Zelina Vega, Kalani Jordan, Tatum Paxley, Izzy Dame, B-Fabe, Meechin, Night, Ivy Nile, Candace LeRae, Nia Jax, Stephanie Secure, and Julia. Like I said, there's a lot of talented women in the Battle Royal. Ultimately, Stephanie Secure winning. The winner of the Battle Royal will go to Paris to wrestle the current women's champion, I believe, of both rosters. Um, so yeah, Shane Secure didn't wrestle that much on Raw. I would believe it's because of burnout. She burnt out. She's been wrestling for a while now. So she needed a little break, I'm assuming, or maybe she was hurt, trying to recuperate from those injuries. Um, she is the hot girl, or she is the it girl right now. She's on a very nice run currently. Um, so I expect her to get a big push. Um, my thoughts on Julia were that they rushed her too soon to become US champion. That's just my opinion. I think that's kind of too fast for a push, but it is what it is. I am not creative writing, unfortunately. Other than that, um, yeah, all in all, it was a good competition. So the last match and final match of Evolution was against it was against Rhea Ripley versus um Io Sky. And this match itself was one of the greatest, if not one of the greatest women's matches I've ever seen. And watch wrestling, you know that Rhea Ripley has never beaten Io Sky. Come close a couple of times, but what makes this rivalry so special and intriguing is that they both respect each other. Um, they had to lose that match, I believe, at WrestleMania. Io Sky won against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. Io Sky was hurt, I believe, and she came back and never lost a step. Rhea Ripley was kicked out of the Judgment Day because of Liv Morgan and all that. And her just being, I guess she's now a baby face. It's kind of cool to see actually. But last Sunday night's match between Io Sky and her was just unworldly great. Um, I haven't seen that kind of match in a very long time. And coming from women's division, it's just to me it shows how talented the women's division is right now. All these women can wrestle. All these women can win on any given night. Um, it's really cool to see Rhea Ripley and Io Sky both wrestled inside and outside the ring. Um, and then later in the match, when you thought it was going to be over, Io Sky was going to win that match. And Naomi came out with a briefcase and said, I want this match now. And ultimately hitting Io Sky with a briefcase and pinning Rhea Ripley. But at the end of the match, uh, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky both got a standing ovation, which to be fair, was warranted after all that. They both hugged each other, embraced each other, went out walking with each other, similar to Undertaker and Triple H and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. It was really special as a fan. Really cool to see. Um, I won't get that kind of match ever again. I hope so as a fan, but really amazing to see. Now it, it's interesting to see who will wrestle Naomi for the belt at SummerSlam. You could see, you could make an argument. It could be Jade Cargill, um, maybe Bianca Belair, um, maybe you get Io Sky rematch, maybe Triple Threat match. It all comes down to creative and Triple H to see how he wants it to go down. But yeah, all things considered, great pay-per-view from Re-American Bash to silent main event, despite the unfortunate injury to Seth Rollins. I think the only fallback from the silent main event and all, basically the argument about all the PLEs is that there was no titles um, that all got retained. I think maybe a couple Naomi got changed. Uh, but I can't think right now of what title did change hands other than Naomi beating, winning the championship off of Io Sky. Right. So thanks to everyone listening on replay. Thanks for Russ for being here. I don't know where Tony's at, but I'm sure he has a good excuse on why he cannot join. You can find me on Thursday on the Tony's podcast, the Dropkick, the Municipal Dropkick Wrestling Talk Show. And also I'll be on Ray's podcast, the Arsenal Fan Circle, where we will discuss all the recent Arsenal signings, possibly more signings on the way, and we'll discuss what will happen in the future with Arsenal, discussing games. Um, I'm going to try to do this on a weekly basis um, because I want to talk about a lot of stuff. Hopefully get more guests to join. I know Russ had prior engagements. I know it's kind of hard for him to join during the week. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you guys have a good week, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care. Bye.